Are you ready for some art? Let's go! This is the Golden Demon, the guy who owns the Golden Demon painting competition. I reckon you've all heard about it. It's a big deal in the painting community. Today we can see the Golden Demon is doing a little hobbying with his mates, and this one was painted by Bob Naismith, I think. Yet again, this piece of art was used on the cover of one of the original Citadel Paint Sets. In this instance, it was the Creature Paint Set. This one, the Creature Paint Set there, a very nice looking paint set. Not quite as nice as this Monster Paint Set or the Citadel Colour Paint Set though. These old paint sets were beautiful, and the box art alone warrants tracking down a copy if you can. Now, for reasons unknown, the Golden Demon is using what appears to be a telescope to paint his miniatures. I'm not convinced this is the easiest tool to use to paint. Maybe a pair of reading or magnifying glasses would do a better job. Maybe that would be a good topic for a video. Can I paint using a telescope? On top of the Golden Demon's head is that little blue demon, Billy. This time he's holding a pot holder of sorts. What exactly is in these pots? Is it the Golden Demon's paints? Or is it just his water pots for cleaning his brushes? We need to know. At first glance, I thought the candle on the side of the piece was another little monster or demon watching on, like a painting spectator. I feel in my peripheral vision I can make out an arm. Also, on a side note, I find it hard to spell peripheral. The Golden Demon has an interesting list titled Warhammer nailed to his wall. What do you think this is a list of exactly? Is it his Warhammer model wishlist perhaps? Or do you think it's his inventory or pile of shame, as we all like to refer to it as? Actually, some people now call it a pile of opportunity, which I find is an interesting name. I don't think I dare do a pile of shame video, or take any sort of inventory of what I have, because I think the results of that would be quite shocking and a little scary. And then there's other times when I think maybe we should see just what is in that backlog. A 30-year backlog. I do think it would be eye-watering seeing what came out of that, so I think I have plenty of miniatures to paint, although I do still want some more. I'm pretty sure you don't need me to tell you what this piece of art features, but if you are not aware, what we have here are some Space Marines and their Rhino by one of my favourite Warhammer artists of all time, Russ Nicholson. Sadly, Russ is no longer with us, but his artwork will forever endure in the Warhammer 40,000 Halls of Fame. Dotted around the piece on the Space Marines, the Rhino and the banner is a very old version of a fist-themed logo. We can therefore assume these guys are Crimson Fists. Although nowadays Imperial Fists are probably the more well-known chapter, back in the day it was the Crimson Fists, and to be fair they are a lot cooler. All of the Space Marines here are wearing Mark VI Corvus armour, which isn't surprising at all given the age of the piece. However, the Space Marine on the top of the Rhino has a very pointy head indeed, a proper beaky. I wonder if that's design choice, or perhaps it is an alternate helmet style. He looks a bit like a honey badger to me. Something a few of you may have already noticed are the numerals on the side of the Rhino. These have a more modern day look to them, as in using real numbers as opposed to the Roman numerals Space Marines are known for today. I myself actually prefer these numerics, as it has that Oldhammer look and feel we all know and love. I always try to use these on my vehicles nowadays. The Space Marine at the front in the middle, staring us down, has an interesting stripy hat on. I don't think this is a standard Marine. The stripe has stripes within it. This probably denotes a special type of marine, such as an officer or tech marine or something. Also, this guy is holding a weird looking weapon. It looks a bit like an assault cannon pistol. Has that been invented yet? If not, why not? I need to see a rotary pistol. One of the Space Marines appears to have gone and done something silly. He appears to have crushed himself in the door. Is he stuck? I hope not. He might just be reaching in for a beer, or maybe he's waiting for his stepfather. Poor Marine. Now I need to put it out there, I absolutely love this piece of art. The high contrast and the composition is very good, in my opinion of course, as all art is subjective. Never let anyone tell you what to like or dislike, always form your own opinion. So what we have here are some Space Marines, along with their Land Raider by one of my favourite Warhammer 40,000 artists, Kev Walker. Kev has created some wonderful pieces over the years. Judging by the chapter logo we can see there, these guys appear to be Thousand Suns. The capital M was their original logo before they changed it to the thing I can't describe, a fiery wheel or fish perhaps. Also, I think the capital M is Roman numerals for 1000 too, so I assume that's where that came from. Or they're McDonald's Marines, and Ronald McDonald is the Primarch. That would be an interesting army to look at. The battle is happening in some sort of concrete jungle hellscape. The buildings are very rectangular. Is this style of design known as brutalism? Please let me know. I'm not an architect. It's the same style of buildings as the ones we see in RoboCop, specifically the OCP building. That movie had a wonderful aesthetic. Now I don't know if it's a trick of the light, but I think I can see the Marine's eyes there on the one in front of the Rhino. You don't normally see Marine's eyes through their lenses, much like Darth Vader's. I do think, however, there's one scene you can see them in though, and that's on the Death Star attack run.
Let him go. Stay on the leader.
That Marine with his eyes on show reminds me of something else, something from a movie. Can you guess what it was? Well, it reminds me of Frodo in Return of the King when he's wearing the orc armour that looks nothing like previous sets of orc armour. You know, I think I'm going to have to say something heretical here, so please don't report me to the movie police. But I think Return of the King is a little bit dull. I found that third one to be nowhere near as good as the first two, Fellowship and The Two Towers. To me, it felt a little bit like the quality dropped off or something. Maybe it was a little bit rushed compared to the other two, or maybe it's just the third and final act of a story just isn't as good. This is all my own opinion, of course, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. Fellowship of the Ring is still by far the best of the trilogy. I think that one was really good. Now if you guys fancy discussing Lord of the Rings movies or the Hobbit movies or anything else hobby related, then please feel free to come along and join us on our friendly Discord server, which is not behind a paywall. There's a link in the description below, and I'll also stick one up here for you too. We look forward to chatting to you there. Here we have one of the single most iconic duos of all early Warhammer 40,000's Imperial Guard, the Ogryns and the Beastmen, this time by Paul Bonner. Also, I can't get over how my autocorrect changes Ogryn to Organ every single time. It's getting annoying. Although Beastmen in Warhammer 40,000 are loyalists, well, they were at the time of Rogue Trader, these ones look evil. I think it's because they look even more beastly than normal, if that's even possible. I myself still don't have any Rogue Trader era Beastmen miniatures, but that is something I intend on rectifying at some point. The Ogryns back in the day had a lot of character, they were very charming indeed. They always looked a bit, how shall we put it, thick or a little dumb. Now, although they weren't the sharpest knife in the drawer, they were, however, very loyal. And loyalty counts for a lot. Doesn't it, Kelly? Anyway, sadly I feel Ogryns don't have as much character these days, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe one day things will change back again. The Beastman there, on the right hand side, is equipped with a very strange looking weapon. Sadly, I'm not able to identify it. It looks a bit like a cross between a shotgun and a las gun. I'm going to assume it's an auto gun, just of a pattern I've not seen before. One of the Ogryns has one of the best weapons in all of Warhammer 40,000, the Ripper gun. I have no idea why I always thought these things were cool, but they are. Not Conversion Beamer or Harlequin's Kiss cool, but very cool nonetheless. Definitely cool enough for an Ogryn. The Ogryn on the right hand side of the piece has something odd in his hand. My gut tells me this is either a grenade or a beer can. Is he about to tip out his beer all over the Beastman's head? Would this be a slapstick joke in Warhammer 40,000?
This beer tastes rotten.
Do Beastmen bark like dogs? Welcome everybody to this week's episode of the Krypton Factor, and I'm your host, Gordon Burns. Now, everybody loved the Krypton Factor growing up. The assault course always looked a lot of fun. Also, I was today's years old when I found out the intro music to the TV show was done by the Art of Noise. Remember those guys? No, that's okay. Nobody does. So our athletic guardsmen here were rendered by one of Warhammer 40,000's most prolific early artists, Pete Knifton. We've seen a lot of Pete's work on the channel, and all of it wonderful. All of these guardsmen are wearing headbands like Catachan Jungle Fighters or Daniel LaRusso. Maybe they're training with Mr. Miyagi. On a side note, I recently finished watching all of the Cobra Kai TV show episodes, and I think it all ended up satisfactory. Anyway, these guys, the headbands, perhaps they denote some sort of special unit or something. Who knows? I'm not seeing any weapons being carried by any of the guardsmen here, apart from grenades, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is indeed some sort of training exercise or course. Sadly, we don't hear much about Imperial Guard training. I feel that's something the lore could expand into. An Imperial Guard recruit going through his training would make a good story. A bit like Full Metal Jacket, I suppose. Now, although these guys have no weapons, this course does look dangerous, as it would appear someone has exploded on the right hand side. And I would assume that's just a matter of course.
A matter of course? Assault course? I'll get my coat.
The vaulting gentleman in the lead on the left has a nice looking vest thing with the Imperial eagle on it. Does Imperium brand clothing exist in the 41st millennium? Are there rival clothing brands? We need to know. The vaulting guardsman's wrist is all strapped up. It has a sort of ribbed look to it. It reminds me a bit of the bands that Sagat wore in Street Fighter 2. I guess they're some sort of support. He also wore them on his ankles. I did like Sagat, although at higher levels I felt he cheated a lot.
Now, when I was a lad back in the 90s, Street Fighter 2 was a big deal. I don't think it had any running stages in it though. That was track and field. I still remember people talking about Street Fighter 2 on the playground when I was at middle school or high school, whichever school it was. I have fond memories of people discussing how difficult the Dragon Punch inputs is for Ryu and Ken. And we also called him Ryu back then, and we didn't know how to pronounce Guile. I think one of my friends used to call it Julie. Julie, his name is. Lovely. When I first played it, I think it was in the arcades at Great Yarmouth Seafront, and I distinctly remember wanting to be Blanche, the big green monkey man. I thought he was really cool, but nowadays I think he's crap. I much prefer Psyker these days. She's good fun to play as, or Cammy. I do quite well with her. Occasionally I'll have a little tinker with Ken, but I feel he's gone a little bit off the rails. He's gone a bit nuts. The last one I played was Street Fighter 6 last summer, I think, or was it the summer before? Time just goes so quickly now, I can't keep up. But the Street Fighter games are good. Now, speaking of good, if you're enjoying this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. That means you, Peter. If you are enjoying the content on the channel, then please consider joining us on Patreon, the link to which is in the description below or up here somewhere. Or you could even become a channel member, which is all the rage these days. Again, there's a link to that in the description below. And I'm starting to mumble a bit. I feel like I've got a bit of a furry tongue. Licking too many furry objects, maybe.
What we have before us here is a Psyker. A Psyker that we now know as a sanctioned Imperial Psyker, I think. Again, this wonderful piece is by wonder artist Pete Knifton. Something I need to point out is this guy's hat. Have a look at that. It's not the sort of thing I would wear myself. It is, however, the sort of thing that Merlin wore in that old Excalibur movie. Everyone says it's really good, but I haven't seen it since I was a lad, so I can't really comment. Maybe it's time to give it another watch. Would you recommend it? Was it any good? So at first I assumed this Psyker chap was human, but have a little look at his ears. They look a bit Vulcan or pointy. Maybe it's a side effect of being a mutant, or maybe his mum had an Eldar milkman. When I was young, I always wanted to be a milkman as I thought the floats they drove around were quite cool, but I don't think they exist anymore. This gentleman is wearing a pretty typical uniform of an Imperial Psyker attached to the Imperial Guard. Well, I think so anyway. He does, however, have something else. A little clip-on collar thing. What do you reckon this is? A psychic hood of sorts? Or is it just a fashion statement? The Psyker at first glance appears to be trying to do a spell. Is that the correct term? Manifest a power, perhaps? Anyway, it looks like he's struggling. Because he's not looking at his target, but his hand. Come on! Come out! I think you can get pills for that at Boots nowadays. Anyway, although the Psyker's weapon looks a bit like a chainsword at first glance, I don't think it is. It's just a big serrated sword or knife. The sort of thing you expect to see Crocodile Dundee use, or maybe Billy from Predator.
Some magical artwork there. If you want to see some more art-themed videos, then check out the playlist up here somewhere. And as always, thank you very much for watching.